And Jamie, you're going to follow that, right? So next we have a safety presentation with Jamie Phillips and Principals Jackie Bull and Carey Green, and also our SRO, Bill Lower, and Lieutenant Detective James Robinson.
Yes, a much less entertaining topic for sure, but something that is certainly very important. Since 2013 particularly, we've always had safety procedures and plans and drills in place here in Lancaster, but particularly since 2013, we've really spent a lot of time each school year assessing where we are in terms of safety and security, figuring out what we can improve and how we can improve it, and then always asking the question, once we've accomplished some of those goals, what's the next thing that we can do to further improve that security? So tonight we're going to talk about a little bit what we've done over the last 5 years, what we have slated to be doing this year, and also what we're hoping to do over the next few years based on budgetary appropriations and also capital projects. While I was waiting for Mr. Shamrock's presentation to wrap up, I deleted the portions of me singing from my presentation. So throughout the years, with all the work that we've done, it takes a village. I know it's a little cliche, but that is definitely how we're addressing safety and security in the Lancaster Central School District. Everyone from the Board of Education, the entire district administrative team. We have a district-wide safety committee that's comprised of different groups of people throughout the district. We have building level planning teams, building level safety teams, building level crisis teams, building level emergency response teams. We work very closely with the Lancaster Police Department, which Officer Lauer and Detective Lieutenant Robinson will elaborate on later. Our school resource officers, the Depew Police Department, in conjunction with John A. Sholey being in Depew. We have an Erie One BOCES health and safety representative that assists in the district with some of these initiatives, and then also our insurance company has been a great resource for us. Carey Green from John A. Sholey, Jackie Bull from William Street, Officer Lauer, and Detective Lieutenant Jim Robinson will speak in just a few minutes. Some of the things that they're particularly proud of to have participated in over the last few years. We've made a lot of infrastructure improvements. We've also made a lot of procedural improvements, so we're going to go through some of those. Procedurally, we've done a lot of paperwork, a lot of reviewing, a lot of updating, a lot of revisiting to make sure things are working, a lot of training for people. We have both a district-wide and building-level emergency plan at each building. Those each year are updated with pertinent information, and we actually have a secure portal on our district website where not only can district administrators but also certain law enforcement and other emergency responders can access that information from any device at any time. So if there was an emergency or a situation where that information would need to be referenced, we could do that. We've created a quick reference drill card. It is a bright yellow sheet of paper that anyone that works for the district and probably a lot of students are used to now seeing. They are in every room throughout the entire district. They are in every substitute folder. And those quick reference cards tell everybody what to do in a lockdown, a lockout, and a shelter in place. So no matter where they are and what their role is in the district, they are trained through annual training to look for that card and follow the instructions on those cards. Prior to that, we were using different words, different codes, different procedures in each school building. At the younger levels, we were sugarcoating a little bit. It was like, code pink or code Annie or, code 4, whereas now district-wide, it's standard across the board. What the drills are called, what is called out when we're going through those drills, and the steps that everybody needs to take. We have created, we have added 4 lockdown drills every year in each building. That is a state requirement as of last year, but we actually had implemented those prior to last year when they were required. So on top of the 8 annual fire drills, all of our buildings are also doing at least 4 lockdown drills. After those drills, those building emergency teams are convening afterwards and saying, what didn't work, what's working, what are things that we need to improve, and a lot of times that's where updates to our emergency plans come from. The great thing about having them on our website as opposed to just printed out on a binder, in a binder somewhere in someone's office, is that they really become living, those plans become living documents, and they can be updated with just an add and a delete on the website. I think it's that easy, right, Pat? Yeah. We have visitor procedures at each building. We're actually currently working this year to streamline those visitor procedures, so the process and procedure is the same district-wide, but currently every building has their own version of letting people in, vetting them before they proceed, and knowing when they're in the building and when they've left. We've made arrival and dismissal adjustments in almost all school buildings. Who's allowed in at arrival, who's allowed in at dismissal, whether their parents are required to wait outside, whether people can enter the building. We've also made the change in all the school buildings that the main entrances, other than at arrival and dismissal, are the only entrance that's open for people to come in and out of. We've instituted, with the help of some infrastructure improvements, also an ID badge system where all employees wear a standard ID badge. They're able to use that badge to swipe in and out of buildings, so that also helps with people not propping doors open. I remember one of my favorite walkthroughs was through our middle school building, and there was a weight from the weight room that was propping the door open. I couldn't even close the door because it was such a heavy weight. We've had the Lancaster Police Department in doing drills at all of our buildings. They used to just practice at a couple of our buildings on, like, let's say a Saturday or during a holiday break. They've now brought all of their force to all of our buildings to train and do active shooter training, and then also become familiar with the buildings. They've allowed the administrative team to actually observe one of those drills. And then they've also had training with the district administrative team about how they're going to respond to an emergency at any of our locations, and what their role is, and how it kind of pans out, what it looks like, and what we're going to be expected to do in those situations. We have implemented annual training for all of our employees. They're being trained each year on that yellow quick reference card. They're also being trained on Dignity for All Students Act, and also student suicide awareness. Another very important piece is the reduction in the use of our schools as polling sites. We have typically been four of our schools have been a location for primaries and November elections, and we have worked with the county and the Commissioner of Elections, is that his title? Yeah, Ralph Moore, and he has helped us work through not having to have all of those buildings that frequently be considered polling places, and we're now just down to the high school being considered a polling place. With regards to infrastructure, we've made a lot of improvements both through capital improvement projects and with just district budgetary funds. Some of the improvements were made in the 2012 capital project. Some were made in the 2015 capital project that we're currently in the middle of. And later I'll talk about some improvements that we have planned for the 2018 project that's up for vote on December 11th. At several of our schools, the main entrance has been remodeled. Como Park, the high school, Hillview, Sholey. If you've been there before, prior to 2013-14, and then you're there now, you'll notice that the main entrance, you have to buzz in, but then that leads you through, have to go through the main office, whereas previously you would then be able to proceed into the school without there being any physical barriers. At Court Street. We've retrofitted the main office, or the main entry, same thing with William Street and the middle school. Each main office or entryway now has an intercom system, so the buzz system where you have to speak to someone and they can see you on camera and let them know what your business is before they're even allowing you into the school building. There's also cameras in every main entrance that allows them to physically see the person that's buzzing in, and also, different views of their body, what they may be carrying. We've replaced several classroom doors throughout the district based on what their window size is. Should there be an intruder in the school, the window size and the ability to break through a window makes a difference. We've replaced, repaired, or added locks to various rooms throughout the school district. A lot of those were identified. Once we started doing lockdown drills, we were able to identify areas that weren't able to be properly locked down because the lock wasn't working properly or there wasn't a lock. So we've made some replacements there. We have added the door access fobs, which is what the swipe cards work off of. So that allows us to cut down on having doors propped open. We've upgraded a lot of our camera systems, from the DVR systems to adding capacity to replacing cameras that were obsolete in old technology, and then to adding cameras. So we have more views and footage from throughout all the interior and exterior of all of our schools. We have added panic buttons in locations throughout the district for people to push and have that contact emergency responders without having to make a phone call. We've replaced the PA system in several of our schools, and some of those are still yet to come. Our fire alarm and our security alarm systems have been upgraded and plan to be updated at some of our other schools. We've replaced our phone system, going from analog to voice over IP. That also allowed us to add phones in every location, in every classroom, where previously there were phones in main offices and very few other locations. Now, though, there's a phone, 911 is able to be called, and also all of our staff is able to access the PA system through their phone in case they needed to call a lockdown or a lockout or shelter-in-place emergency. Many of our principals have added additional walkie-talkies, both for people that are throughout their buildings, but also for when their classrooms may be going outside for PE or for some playground time. We've come up with a system within the buildings where they've gotten keys for when they need them, so teachers and staff are able to properly lock down any doors that they may need to. And then in some locations, we've replaced the exterior shades or added exterior shades, and the same thing goes for the windows on the doors. Each year, for the last 8 years, I believe, we've been doing a $100,000 capital outlay project as part of our annual budget. 2014, 15, and 15, 16 were focused, that $100,000 each year was focused specifically to this school building, and that was replacing their classroom doors in order to improve the safety factor in a lockdown situation. In 16, 17, we did the same thing at Como Park Elementary. And then this year, 2018-19, actually the bid is on the agenda tonight to be approved. We will be doing some additional alterations to the main entrance, which includes replacing the second set of doors to be doors that are able to be secured, and then replacing the buzzer and adding additional cameras. And so now I'm going to have the principals and the police department talk about some things in their building that they're particularly proud of or think that are particularly important they've done.
Good evening. My name is Carey Green, and I am the principal at John A. Sholey Elementary School. I really enjoyed Mr. Shamrock's presentation and watching all the children sing and enjoy themselves. And I take my job as principal very, very seriously. It is important that I create a safe environment where the children feel secure and are in a place where they can enjoy themselves and sing and not have to be worried about their safety. I think that's my job to worry about their safety. So Jamie asked me to share some things that I've done since I've arrived at Sholey to make it a safer place for our kiddos. I have an 11-member building safety committee that meets a minimum of 4 times a year, but usually more as things come up and we decide we want to change things. As Jamie mentioned, one of the first things I did when I arrived at Sholey was purchase high-powered walkie-talkies. Our building is quite old, and when I arrived, they were still using this big wall of buzzers, and they would buzz once if they wanted the custodian and twice if they wanted the secretary, and it was just hard to get the people that you wanted quickly. So those walkie-talkies are really important. Now I carry one all day, my custodian carries one all day, and key members of the Building Safety Committee also have walkie-talkies on them at all times. We updated our fire drill procedures. We utilized those walkie-talkies, and we also designated certain people to be reporters, and we are able to quickly verify the location of any students who happen to not be in their classroom at the time. Maybe they were using the restroom or on the way to the nurse, and we have taught them to just quickly go out with whatever class is closest to you, and we're able to utilize the walkie-talkies and the reporters to very quickly know exactly who we have, where they are, so that we can confirm that everyone is safe. Another thing we've done is we updated all the evacuation route maps for every room with a primary route and a secondary route. Over the years, they were faded and some were lost, so now every single room has one. And they are in view for, even if there's a substitute in the room, they're right by the doors so that everyone knows exactly where to go. As I think Jamie mentioned, my school is actually in Depew. So I have worked very hard over the last few years to create a very positive working environment with the Depew Police Department. I think I had 8 officers at my school today for a lockdown drill, and they're familiar with my building now, and they're familiar, my kids are used to seeing them safe, and they help with every lockdown that we practice every year. And we work very closely with them after every one to talk about what we could do better, what we need to change. Some of the things that have come out of that partnership with Depew is all the Depew police cars now have keys to the building in the cars. So if there's ever an emergency, whoever's on duty will be able to access the building. We updated the numbers on all the doors and the windows, so that, again, the police can communicate to each other of where they need to get in the building, where different things are happening. Some of those were faded and lost again, so now they're all updated and clearly visible. We created a safe spot out in the neighborhood. We try to get our kids outside as often as we can all year round, and if they're outside and there's an emergency and it's safer for them not to come into the building, we have created a, just like you do at home when you practice fire drills with your children, you have that safe spot. We have the same thing for our school, and one of the Depew cars will go right to that safe spot with those children that are outside. We have whistles that every employee in the district wears a whistle, and that is only to be used in case of emergencies. Again, like if you're outside and there's an emergency, we need that loud noise to get the children's attention. Another place that it can get quite noisy is the cafeteria, and so that whistle can be used by my lunch monitors to make sure they get the children's attention immediately. We have practiced a color-coded system for lockdowns in the cafeteria. There's a lot of kids in the cafeteria all at once, and if there was ever a lockdown in the cafeteria, that can be quite hectic. And I have little kids. My kids are I have 4-year-olds, so it was important that we created a system that was really easy to follow. So we just color-coded. We color-coded all the tables. We color-coded all the doors of where we wanted the children to quickly walk to, so that they could get behind closed locked doors and be safe. And it worked really well. We practiced them for the first time this past spring, and we are very pleased with how quickly the children were able to get into safe locations. All of our keys, I think Jamie mentioned that as well, all of our keys have been located, and we provided hooks for all the teachers, so the keys are hanging right inside their doors. So if their doors need to be quickly locked, those are easily accessible. Another thing we're trying actually tomorrow at my faculty meeting, we're going to talk about leaving our doors in a locked position all day long, so that if there ever was an emergency, one of the first thing that goes when you're nervous and you're trying to think what to do to keep everyone safe are your small motor skills, like being able to lock the door. So it may be a good idea to just keep the door locked all day long. The only problem, again, is going back to the age of my children. When they leave to use the restroom or go to the nurse or wherever they need to go, they need to be able to get back in. So tomorrow I'm handing out, they actually look like pool noodles, and they're like little door stoppers that you use for babies so their hands don't get squished in the door. We're going to do a trial of those so that if the door needs to be closed, if you're doing a noisy activity or something like that, the door, it's locked, but the children can still get back in. And I know that sounds sort of silly, but those are the kinds of things you have to think all the way through when you're trying to keep, I have 429 kiddos safe. So we're actually going to do a trial with those starting tomorrow. Areas that there may not be for example, a faculty member all the time. For example, in my library media specialist is sometimes at my building, sometimes at Hillview. I have a library media aide that travels back and forth. So the library is one area that we weren't sure the teachers would know where to go if there was a lockdown when they were in there. They wouldn't, depending on which faculty member was there at the time. So we have carefully placed signs to identify where the lockdown locations are in the library. And again, we tried that today and it worked very well. We were pleased. Another thing we instituted today were the keys that the Depew Police Department has. You need multiple keys to get into all the rooms in my building. And to make it easy for the police officers, they are now color-coded. The keys are color-coded, and then there are stickers on the door, right on the doors, right above the lock, so that the police officers know which key to use, and they can do that much quicker than going through 3 or 4 keys to try to figure out which one to use to get in. Another thing we practiced last year is we have a procedure called a controlled release. If for some reason there was ever an emergency and we need to release the children one at a time with parents coming to pick them up, that's a huge process, and I needed to make sure that everybody knew their jobs, what to do, where to be, so that we kept the kids safe and we got them released to the correct parent. And so what we did was we created little tags that go inside their IDs, which remind the teacher what their job title is, where they're supposed to be, and the steps they need to follow in the case of a controlled release. It's one of those things that I hope we never have to use, but if we do, they have a quick resource right on them to help them know what to do. Another thing that they have in their IDs is a code number that they can use to access. I think Jamie mentioned that as well, so that they can access the system and to announce a lockdown or a shelter in place, because not all emergencies are going to walk through the front door and say, hey, principal, can you make this announcement? So they need to know that they can call those emergencies if there's imminent danger in their areas of the room. This year we have things called gotta go bags, where if we ever have to evacuate, each teacher has a bag with different items that may be needed by their class, from a first aid kit, a blanket, activities to keep the kids busy if we have to keep them in a place for a long time. Again, I have little ones, so we need to keep them busy if we have to keep them maybe in the gym for a long time. So all of those bags were checked this year. We got new ones for teachers that didn't have them or couldn't find them, and we replaced any items that were missing. I know I've been talking for a long time, but safety is really important to me. It's important at Sholey, and it is a frequent topic at faculty meetings. Pretty much every faculty meeting, we discuss any questions the teachers have. We want to make sure that we're prepared. We don't want any of our kiddos to be scared. We just want them to be prepared. Thank you.
Thank you, Carey. I'm Jacqueline Bull, principal of William Street School, and so many of the things that Carey talked about, certainly we all do within our own building. But what I'm going to talk to you about tonight is process and how we get there. William Street School, our safety plans, they're never ending. It's constant communication between our faculty, our staff, our parents, our Lancaster Police Department, Twin District for the Fire Department. So I'm going to walk you through what a year looks like at William Street. Every year in June, we post for our faculty and staff. They have the opportunity to volunteer their time to serve on numerous committees that we have at William Street School, one being the safety team, we have a de-escalation team, and we have a crisis team. And I can't thank our faculty and our staff, because without them, again, they are the foundation of our safety teams. So we take those the members, and we have that they all sign up in the summertime or before the summer starts. In the summertime, I take all the recommendations from the year and I update all of the safety plans, so that starting right in September, the first opening day, all of our faculty and staff will receive a folder, and within their folder they have all of their plans. They, as Carey alluded to, it's a living document. So if there are any errors or mistakes, or you forgot this room number, we make sure that we're constantly updating our safety plans. So our teachers, we go over these the first day that we have them with us. We review all of our safety plans with them. We also do a code of conduct assembly with our students that first week of school, and we go over our plans and the expectations with our kids right from that first week. It's very important for us. We do our drills, our fire drills, our lockdown drills, and at William Street School we have a pool. So we do our pool drill right in October. Our parents are always notified via Remind, newsletters, as well as a call that will go home letting them know that we do practice these drills, and we do ask for their cooperation. Our safety team does meet right in the first week of September. We bring them together. We go through what the year is going to look like. And then again, we go through our drills in the event if there is a drill or if there is an emergency that does take place. And Dr. Kufel, I know you were there for one of our emergencies that we did have, and it compliments to my safety team that, again, we were making sure that the safety and security of our kids first and foremost. But again, I have a dynamic team. Our teams are also, just so that I want to make sure that I note that our teams are made up of our custodians, teachers, administrators, nurses, secretaries. Everybody is involved within our teams. Special education providers. Again, it's important that we service our kids. We will go through the year. We will meet quarterly. If there is an emergency, we make sure that we do come back. We do talk about it. We go back and what could we have done better? How did that whole thing transpire? But then we make sure that for our building planning team, this is where this is brought in. We have a building planning team that meets monthly. And part of the building planning team, parents, teachers, can always give us input in terms of procedures and safety. Every spring, we meet for a full-day safety committee meeting. And we invite Bill. Bill always comes, and Lieutenant Robinson comes, Lancaster Police Department. It's a full-day meeting. We take the recommendations and the comments and questions and concerns from our faculty and staff and community, and we look at it full day. We also make sure that we walk the building every year. So this is ongoing. We walk the building with Bill and Jim, and we look at things that maybe from their perspective, as well as we discuss things, and we've made some changes, little changes in terms of where our kids play. Having the location of where the kids need to play to make sure that they are safe. As Carey said, certain doors that should remain in a locked position, but it's an ongoing communication. And then again, the June will come, and we will invite our teachers and staff if they would like to be on our committee. And I am proud to say I have yet to have anybody get off our team. So it's a credit to our teachers and faculty and staff, and we are constantly always looking and making sure that our kids are safe.
Good evening, everybody. Again, my name is William Lower. I'm one of 2 school resource officers assigned to the district. I work out of the middle school, and Officer Pat O'Brien works out of the high school. You hear a lot about safety tonight. Make no mistake, safety is an inconvenience. It's a hard thing to get across the board to some people when they're set in the ways, but it's something that we take very seriously here at the district. Today, for students to succeed, they need a safe environment, one that is free of disruption, drugs, violence, and of course, guns. As school resource officers, we work closely with the school administration to help create such an environment. Some of the duties as an officer is mainly to ensure the safety of the students and the faculty throughout the Lancaster School District. I also counsel students in special situations, specifically students suspected of engaging in criminal misconduct. I enforce criminal laws. I assist the school administration with policies regarding student conduct. I investigate criminal activity on or around the property. I answer student questions regarding juvenile law. My office is always open anytime a student wants to come in. A lot of times my department is in their neighborhood, at their house. They see something. Officers don't always have time to answer those questions. They can come to me. I assist outside officers with investigations. I can get access to a lot of information. If it's imperative that they get in touch with the family, they can get in touch with me. I can do that. And also I provide police protection at school events, dances, proms, football games, graduation. So as an SRO, I'm standing in the front of my building every morning for student arrival. I greet the kids, I talk to the kids, I high-five the kids, and I'm there again at the end of the day for student dismissal. Those are your 2 critical times at a building, and I make a point to be in my building at each one of those times. I walk the hall throughout the days. I call it hall patrol. I'm interacting with teachers. A lot of times teachers have some concerns, some complaints. They can come to my office throughout the day, or if I'm up on the 3rd floor, they can ask me then. Numerous door checks. One of the biggest things I found throughout the day is these doors get used a lot. And oftentimes just weather, just air pressure, they close, they're locked, but they're still ajar. So that's one of the things I'm doing all the time. And now I have teachers that are walking through their buildings, checking doors as well. So where my primary purpose is to make sure students and staff are safe, a goal of mine is to improve the relationship between the police department and the students. In a day and age where we're constantly portrayed in a negative way on the news, it's important that they understand they can trust us. I serve as a positive role model for many students who are not exposed to such roles. Our presence in the school sends a strong message that violence is not acceptable. The school and the police department work collaboratively to carry out this program. The program is based on the daily work and relationships between the SRO and the school principal. By sharing the same vision that schools must be safe and secure, the SRO and the principal form a team. I meet with my building principal every day, and it's anything from, what happened last night, any contact with your department with his students, to what's the current crisis for the day, whether it's building concerns, safety concerns, teacher concerns. From a safety standpoint, being on this team has been the most rewarding for me. I have over 20 years of experience, both as a tactical officer on a SWAT team and a field instructor to offer. And anything under the sun are things we talk about. Alarming behavior from parents that come in. Current lockdown procedures, our panic button in our 911 system, that's something we are continually testing. I was testing today at William Street School to make sure that that was still working properly. Open doors, classrooms. It's a big thing that you may hear Lieutenant Robinson talk about, teaching with your door closed and locked. That is a big safety thing that we're trying to get across from the standpoint that most often if your building is breached, you're not made aware of that until that person is in the school. If you are in your classroom with the doors locked and closed, you are already in a safe environment. Unattended doors, delivery people being let in by side doors, exterior doors being propped open. Big thing I found through the days are exterior doors that are open. And those are just to name a few. And of course, the main thing is, as an advisor, as a counselor, every time we have one of these school shootings, everyone is in a panic, everyone is concerned, rightfully so. But it's important to understand that within the Lancaster School District, with this area, geographically, we are in some of the safest parts of the country. We're very proactive. We're constantly coming up with these safety plans, reevaluating them. And still, at the end of the day, statistically, a school in the United States is still the safest building to be in. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jim Robinson. I'm a detective lieutenant with Lancaster Police. I'm very proud to stand in front of everybody tonight, and I want to thank Dr. Valley for all your continued cooperation and collaboration with the police department. I work hand in hand routinely with Jamie Phillips with buildings and grounds and safety improvements. I'm just going to touch on a few of the things we've accomplished over the years. We've done walkthroughs for every 10 or 12 years at least and done upgrades to these buildings. Everything from numbering doors, which doesn't only assist the police, it assists the fire department, it assists the ambulance. It actually helps the maintenance to look at the high school, 70 doors I think it is, or 80 doors. So we can direct help where we need it quickly. Other policies and procedures, it was integral to change the policies for lockdown, standardizing all the codes. We continually, just last week, Jamie and I sat down with a couple other upgrades we're looking at. What is our police department doing currently? We get asked this continually. Every year, every member of our police force, men and women, all 50 of us, we train in all of our schools. Every year we pick a different school and we do active shooter response training. We do simunition training. Obviously when school is out of session, we do it on a Saturday or during the holiday weeks. Why are we using all the buildings? We're trying to make all of our officers very familiar with all the buildings in the district. And there's nothing like real life training. And we can apply it into any business setting or factory setting also. So those are some of the things the police department's doing with collaboration with school. You'll be surprised. I talk with my counterparts from different police departments all the time. And I know Jamie Phillips has also with her counterparts with different schools. We have an amazing relationship with the school district. On a moment's notice, I can call the district and have a school bus at our police station within a day. And we use it for training for all our officers for different events that we do. We can get access to almost any building the district has on a moment's notice for training. It benefits us and the school and all our families. Currently, our police department, some of the upgrades we've done, train rapid deployment every year, once a year for 8 hours. We've upgraded the weapons in all our vehicles. We have what's called go bags in all our police cars, which gives us access to all the school buildings, including the parochial schools, St. Mary's Elementary and St. Mary's High School. We have first aid kits, trauma kits for our officers and for other victims. We carry AED units. We do simunition in the schools when we practice. We assist the school principals and the administration, and they assist us in letting us use their building. Oftentimes we'll get called, and a couple of the principals already touched on it. We'll do an annual walkthrough and just point out things we like or dislike, and they try to address it as they see fit. But they work with us. They usually take our advice, and it's really a breath of fresh air. I did fail to mention I have 4 kids in the district. Most of our officers do, so I do take it personally, and I love doing what I do. In the future, some of the things I continually do follow-ups, unfortunately, on whenever there's an active shooter scenario around the country. I read the follow-up scenario, what could have done differently, how could we have possibly prevented it, and we try to implement our training each year and try to upgrade and get better at what we do. So at this time, once again, thank you, Jamie, and thank you, Dr. Valley. Does anybody have any questions for anything the police department does? Thank you very much.
Thank you to all 4 of you. You really jazzed up my presentation. All right, so we have just a few more things. We've told you about what we've been doing. We've gotten the firsthand accounts of the importance and efforts in our buildings and by our police department. We also have some things coming up that will further improve our efforts and our infrastructure. On December 11th, we have a capital project proposition out to vote. And some of the planned work in that project are further enhancements to security. At every school building, we will be adding additional cameras. We'll also be adding additional door access points where the swipe is allowed. At Como Court, Sholey, and William Street, we will be replacing the fire alarm system, and that will complete all of the schools having a new fire system. We will be replacing some exterior doors at Hillview. We'll be adding an additional buzzer and camera at a different, in an entrance other than the main office at Hillview. At the middle school, we're going to go through and replace and add several interior and exterior cameras. We are planning to relocate the SRO's office so it's more central to the main entrance and the main, in the principal's office. And we will be doing some window replacement that currently creates a security exposure. At Como, Hillview, Sholey, and Middle School, we will continue with our classroom door replacements, and we will also be replacing the PA system at William Street and the middle school, and that will also finish up all of the PA system replacements at all of our schools. In the 2018-19 budget that was approved in May and that we're currently operating under, the Board of Education included $500,000 for this school year to spend on additional security initiatives. So we have spent some time reviewing where we think that that could, number one, be best spent, that could give us the biggest impact, and that could be accomplished within this year without any delays of, at the state level for project, building project approvals or anything like that. So at this point, this is what we are recommending and hoping to move forward with that $500,000 in this school year. First thing would be an additional SRO. We believe tonight the town supervisor has added an additional police position in the town's budget. I believe they're talking about it at their town board meeting tonight and then voting on it when they finalize their budget in December. And so this would be a share like we're currently doing with our other 2 SROs. We've added in $17,500 for professional development between district administrators, building administrators, and then other vital people on those building response teams. We've added a professional threat assessment where we would have an outside expert come in and do an assessment of our buildings and where our deficiencies may lie so we can continue to improve there. We've added a visitor management system that has an initial purchase price but then a smaller annual fee moving forward. Further additions of cameras, monitors, and buzzing systems in all of our buildings to further enhance the security at the main entry of each building, and that includes Central Avenue schools. And then the remainder, just over $200,000, we would allocate towards security film on various windows and doors throughout the district, areas that we've determined in our walkthroughs with the police and other emergency personnel in buildings and grounds and the building principals and custodians that would help to delay or deter some potential entry into our buildings. It is a easy fix to that could, very much we're in a situation where seconds matter, really make a big impact. So I know we've given you a lot of information today. I think I hopefully came across tonight and showed you how important safety and security is to everyone that works in the school district, to people that don't work in the school district but that collaborate with us, and that it truly is an ongoing topic that we're always talking about, we're always looking to improve, and that we're always working on. So any questions or comments, or even anything on that budget money this year, that how we're expecting to allocate that?
Jamie, I've got one question for you. I think Carey mentioned, let's say there's a substitute teacher in a classroom, and she mentioned, putting in a code somewhere. How easy is it for a substitute or any teacher to be able to quickly do that and maybe not alarm the person, or
It's just as easy as dialing 3 numbers on a phone. So we do have the panic buttons in certain areas, obviously, that we would not disclose to the public. So that's just even a little button underneath a desk. But then the PA all-call system is the 3 numbers. So more than likely, that's going to be a situation where if a teacher out of their classroom window sees someone walking across the field that looks suspicious, then that's where, in most cases, where that situation is going to play out, where they're just going to call because they don't need to delay by calling to the main office. That does not. Someone in the main office would then press the panic button. Just disclose one of the locations. Sorry. Sure.